The most brutal animal attacks iceberg. In case you don't know what an iceberg is a chart that sorts things by obscurity or strangeness. So starting from the tip of the iceberg, this is the least obscure part of the whole chart. This part contains entries that you probably already know about, or entries that are not as disturbing or strange as the entries below. As we go deeper in the chart, things will get more obscure and weird. Now, grab your favorite drink, grab some popcorn, and join me on this wild and long journey, where I talk about some of the deadliest animal attacks in history. The tip of the iceberg. Known as the biggest and worst shark attack in human history, the U.S.S. Indianapolis shark attack took place during the 1940s. It was July 29, 1945, when the Indianapolis sailed from Guam to meet the battleship Idaho in the Leyte Gulf in the Philippines and prepare for an invasion of Japan. It never reached its destination. Just one day after the Indianapolis left Guam, it got torpedoed by a Japanese submarine in the Pacific Ocean. Just a couple of hours before the Japanese assault on the Indianapolis, the sailors were playing cards together, dancing, reading books, and having a good time. Some spoke with the ship's priest, Father Thomas Conway. They were totally oblivious to the horrors that were about to ensue in the following hours. After the U.S.S. Indianapolis was torpedoed, the 1,195 men on board had just two choices: plunge into waters and risk drowning, or getting eaten alive by sharks, or stay on the ship ravaged by flames. Obviously, they chose the former, and what happened next was the grisliest shark attack of all time, with the Pacific turning red, while survivors watched as hundreds of their crewmates were eaten alive by white-tip and tiger sharks. Only 317 individuals survived the horrific ordeal. The rest were eaten alive. The attack lasted for 4.5 days. Yes, you heard that right. The 317 survivors had to endure this living nightmare for almost 5 entire days. One of the survivors, Edgar Harrell, was just 20 when he watched the traumatic events unfold in front of his eyes. All we heard was men being eaten alive. Every day, every night, you would hear a blood-curdling scream and look and see someone going under. The U.S.S. Indianapolis attack was the biggest attack on humans ever recorded. Layer 2. Osama bin Laden was a rogue elephant in India, named after the terrorist leader, Osama bin Laden. In 2004, Osama went on a 2-year rampage and killed at least 30 people. He was also responsible for the destruction of a property in the Sonitpur district of the Indian state of Assam. Osama was said to be a very strong elephant that did not fear firecrackers or fire like other elephants. In December 2006, Indian officials issued a shoot-to-kill directive. Authorities spent a couple of days looking for Osama, until they eventually found him on the 18th of December, in a tea plantation near the town of Bahali. Drums and fire were used to trap Osama in the corner of the plantation. He was then approached by hunter Daipan Phukan. When Osama realized that he was about to be killed, he charged the hunter. Phukan panicked and immediately started firing at Osama as he was rapidly charging towards him, until he died. Phukan said, "It was charging towards me and I kept firing. Another few yards and it would have run over me." Gustave is a very large serial killer crocodile that lives in the country of Burundi. He is known for being a notorious man-eater, killing at least 200 people on the banks of the Ruzizi River and the shores of Lake Tanganyika. He had been terrorizing villagers for decades, and his diet mainly consists of humans. Gustave has obtained legendary status in Burundi and is greatly feared by the locals. Gustave was given his name by the herpetologist, Patrice Fay, who has been studying and investigating him since the 90s. Not a lot is known about him, since he was never actually captured, and sightings of him are very rare. Though based on the few reported sightings of him, scientists and investigators were able to know some details about him. His exact weight and length are unknown, though according to the scientists who saw him, he is estimated to be more than 20 feet in length, and 900 kilograms in weight. Scientists also believe that he could be anywhere between 60 to 100 years old, and that he is likely still growing. Scientists also reported that Gustave has 3 big bullet scars on his body, and a deep wound on his right shoulder. Gustave's uncommon size and weight make him unable to hunt agile prey such as fish, antelope, and zebra, so he is forced to attack larger animals such as hippopotamus, large buffalo, and humans. The last reported sighting of Gustave was in 2009. No one knows if he is still alive or not. The Tsavo man-eaters were a pair of man-eating serial-killing lions that lived in the Tsavo region of Kenya. The lion pair killed 135 construction workers on the Kenya-Uganda Railway in 1898. The Tsavo man-eaters are some of the most widely studied man-eating animals, given their unusual behavior of hunting humans as a pair. The Tsavo lions would often stalk the campsites of workers and then drag the workers from their tents at night to kill and devour them. The attacks stopped for a couple of months, but then they occurred again. The new wave of attacks was more intense than the previous one, with almost daily killings. The locals tried to scare off the lions by building campfires and thorn fences around the camps, all to no avail. The lions would leap over or crawl through the thorn fences. Early in their killing spree, only one lion at a time would enter the inhabited areas and seize victims, but later they became more brazen, entering together and each seizing a victim. On the 9th of December, 1898, John Henry Patterson was sent to hunt the Tsavo pairs. Patterson wrote about his hunting experience in his book, The Man-Eaters of Tsavo. Patterson said that he wounded the first lion with 1 bullet from a high-caliber rifle. He shot it in its hind leg, but it escaped. Later, it returned at night and began stalking Patterson as he tried to hunt it. He shot it through the shoulder, penetrating its heart with a more powerful rifle. Surprisingly, the lion survived the heart-piercing shot and was able to escape from Patterson for the second time, though only temporarily. The lion later succumbed to its wounds, and Patterson found it lying dead on the next morning, somewhere near the place it was shot. Some time later, Patterson was able to locate the second lion. It took 11 entire days and 9 bullets for this one to die. Patterson said that it died gnawing on a fallen tree branch, still trying to reach him. Layer 3. The Champawat tiger was a Bengal serial-killing tigress that killed at least 400 people in Nepal and India. The killings started in the last years of the 19th century and ended in 1907. The attacks began in a village in western Nepal. A group of hunters was sent to put an end to the tiger's rampage, but they failed. She was then ambushed for the second time by the Nepalese army. They tried capturing or killing her, but they also failed, though they were able to force her to abandon her territory. The tiger later crossed the borders and entered India, where she continued her killing activities in the Kumaon district. In 1907, she was shot and killed in the town of Champawat in India by the British hunter Jim Corbett, with the help of 300 villagers. After killing the Champawat tiger, Jim Corbett acquired a reputation as the leading hunter of man-eaters. The Champawat tiger was listed in the Guinness Book of World Records as the tiger with the highest number of victims in existence. The Sankebetsu brown bear incident was the most brutal bear attack in Japanese history. Between December 9th and December 14th, a huge spree-killing brown bear entered several houses in Hokkaido and killed their settlers. The most gruesome attack took place on the first day of the killing spree, the 9th of December. At around 10 a.m., the giant brown bear turned up at the Ota family house, where Abe Mayu had been taking care of a baby. The bear entered through the main door of the farmhouse and bit the baby on the head, killing it instantly. Mayu saw what happened and tried to fight back against the bear by throwing firewood at it. She then attempted to escape, but the bear knocked her down and dragged her into the forest. According to investigators, the scene resembled a slaughterhouse, with blood puddled on the farmhouse floor. Attacks of similar nature kept occurring for about 5 days, with the bear ransacking multiple properties, killing their owners, and eating their winter food stockpile. The bear was eventually tracked down by a team of hunters and killed on December 14th. The hunters spotted the bear resting near a Japanese oak. One of the hunters, Yamamoto, approached the bear and shot it in the heart and the head. In 1991, a very huge serial-killing lion terrorized the people of the Mfuwe settlement in Zambia. It killed and ate around 6 people in Mfuwe. Sometime during that same year, the lion was killed by the American hunter Wayne Hosek in the Luang War River Valley. You may think that a number of 6 fatalities isn't that impressive compared to other attacks on the list, but what makes this case special is that the Mfuwe lion was actually the largest man-eating lion in existence. It measured over 10 feet in length and 500 pounds in mass. After the lion was killed, its body was taken to be displayed at the Field Museum in Chicago. Layer 4. Over the course of a few years in the early 20th century, the leopard of the Central Provinces, also known as the Devilish Cunning Panther, killed over 150 people in the Central Provinces of British India. Many of the victims were women and children. According to reports, the leopard killed a victim once every 2 to 3 days, sometimes 20 to 30 kilometers apart. The tribal communities in the area were so terrified of the leopard that they seldom ever left their houses unattended or unarmed. Sometime during the early 20th century, the leopard was fatally shot with a projectile propelled from a gas pipe. In the Principality of Ansbach, in 1685, a man-eating wolf known as the Wolf of Ansbach attacked and killed an undetermined number of people. The wolf began as a nuisance, preying on livestock, but soon, it started attacking children. The people of Ansbach thought the creature was a werewolf. The wolf was driven from a nearby woodland during a planned hunt, and the locals chased it with dogs until it jumped into an exposed well for cover. The wolf was killed after being trapped, and its body was paraded around the city market. The crowd dressed it in a man's clothing, then covered its head with a mask, wig, and beard, to give it the look of the former mayor. The wolf's body was then left hanging from a gibbet for all to see, until it was later preserved in a museum nearby. Layer 5. The Kali River Goonch attacks were a string of fatal attacks on humans, believed to have been carried out by a goonch weighing 90 kilograms. The attacks took place on the banks of the Kali River, in India and Nepal, between 1998 and 2007. In April 1998, a 17-year-old boy named Dil Bahadur was dragged underwater in front of his girlfriend and several witnesses while swimming in the Kali River. A massive 3-day search was launched, but Dil Bahadur was never found. It's as if Bahadur was dragged into another dimension by something evil. 3 months later, a similar incident occurred. A young boy was pulled underwater in Kali River, as his father was watching him helplessly. He was never found. The final attack occurred in 2007, when an 18-year-old Nepalese man also disappeared without a trace in the Kali River, after being dragged down by something unknown. The Kali River attacks were later investigated by the British biologist, Jeremy Wade. Jeremy believes that the perpetrator is most likely an unusually large goonch. During 2016, at least 12 children are said to have been brutally killed by stray dogs in the state of Uttar Pradesh, in northern India. On the 1st of May, 2016, an 11-year-old boy named Khalid Ali was on his way to school, when a pack of stray dogs ambushed him and mauled him to death. A witness named Amin Ahmed said, "I heard loud screams from the neighboring orchard in the morning. What I saw was gory. This little boy, who was being attacked by dogs, tried to climb up a tree, but the animals pulled him down and mauled him. I ran towards the village for help. By the time the villagers arrived, the boy was dead, and the dogs had vanished into the forest." The boy's mother, Mezabine, said, "He died on the spot. He was so badly mauled there was no point taking him to the hospital." Khalid was not the only victim of mauling that day. 2 more children were also killed by the pack of stray dogs, in the same village, just a couple of hours after Khalid was killed. The locals were so terrified that they stopped sending their children to school. Locals believe that the child-killing dogs are no normal stray dogs, but a rare unknown breed of man-eating dogs. Many of the people who saw the dogs reported that they were slightly bigger than usual and their jaws were like that of a jackal. This entry refers to a brutal bear attack that took place in Algonquin Provincial Park, in Ontario. 3 boys, George Halfkenny, 16, Mark Halfkenny, 12, and Billy Rindrus, 15, were stalked and killed by a big black bear while fishing near Radiant Lake. Not a lot is known about this incident. Layer 6. In Uganda, chimpanzees are attacking people as part of a troubling trend that has resulted in crop loss and even fatalities. According to National Geographic, the issue has existed for a while, citing a 2014 event in which a chimpanzee kidnapped a 2-year-old boy from his mother and brutally mauled him. A mother was doing some digging in the garden when a chimpanzee suddenly emerged out of nowhere and snatched her 2-year-old child while she was busy getting water. The child screamed in terror, which caused the other villagers to pay attention and chase after him, but it was too late. The chimp broke off the child's arms, fatally injured him on the head, and opened the stomach and removed the kidneys. All of this happened in less than a minute. After this incident, other attacks of a similar nature kept occurring over the years. It's unclear why the chimps in Uganda are targeting children. A massive predatory bird soared through the skies of New Zealand hundreds of years ago, striking terror into the hearts of humans. The terrifying, and very real, bird, known to scientists as Haast's eagle, became extinct in the 1400s. They were top terrestrial predators and the world's largest raptors. The average Haast's eagle weighed more than 31 pounds, grew to 5 feet in length, and stood at nearly 3 feet tall. They were actually 40% larger than the largest living eagles, and their beaks and talons were twice the size of any modern eagle. Because of their unusual size and strength, these terrifying creatures hunted humans on a regular basis.
The Abyss.
Congratulations if you made it to this point in the video. This is the final layer of the iceberg, the Abyss. There's only one entry in this layer. Germany killer rats. Let me explain it in a nutshell. The entry refers to a horrific incident that happened in the island of Majorca, where a homeless man was partially eaten alive by rodents. Frank Herman was a homeless man living under a bridge who survived by eating scraps thrown away by a local supermarket and begging. Sometime during 2013, Frank was found trying to crawl out from under the bridge, where he had been sleeping. He was in a very bad condition and had bite marks all over his body. He was taken to the hospital, and the doctors who were treating him reported that the marks on his body indicate that he was being eaten alive by rodents. Frank died a couple of days later in the hospital from massive organ failure. In 2011, also in the island of Majorca, an elderly woman was found dead in her home after being bitten by rats. The unnamed woman, who was in her 80s, had been bedbound as a result of a stroke. She was taken to the hospital but died 2 weeks later. So that's it. This is the end of the iceberg. May all the people who died in these brutal attacks rest in peace. Thank you for making it this far in the video. If you enjoyed this episode, then maybe you should consider subscribing, because I upload episodes like this on a regular basis. Also, I would really appreciate it if you hit the like button. Thank you for watching.